Hello, everybody. So, a question today. Are you frustrated with the short-term price action of MicroStrategy? Because if you're a short-term thinker, if you're a short-term holder, if you're a trader, maybe you'd be frustrated today because the stock opened nicely. It was up, 3-ish%, and the stock is in the red now again. Friday, the stock was down 7.5% because MicroStrategy stock was spooked by the tariff news. But over the weekend, the tariff news is gone. There was a delay, many delays. I bet you there will be many delays. No financial advice, no tariff advice. The bad news is gone, but the stock is still down despite another massive buy. Yes, $427 million worth of Bitcoin is a massive buy. So good news for the stock. They're acquiring more Bitcoin. The strategy is working, but the stock is down despite the bad news being gone. And so are you frustrated with the short-term price action of MSTR stock? Well, frustration comes perhaps from the fact that one is a short-term holder or a short-term thinker or holds the stock with some sort of a time horizon that is different from infinity. And so here are a few examples where you'd be upset today. You sold $420 puts 10 days ago on MSTR because you were feeling meme culture that day, and you decided to sold some puts $420 price, and oops, you collected the premium, but now you're going to get assigned because the stock is trading at $369. You're going to get assigned at $420, and so you're upset because you would like the stock to be up specifically by the end of this very week. Your time horizon is not infinity in that case. Your time horizon is 2 weeks from now. You could be disappointed too if you hold, say, a bunch of MSTX because you're expecting MSTR to, say, go up 15% within the next few weeks, and thus you want to double that return. You want to get, a 2x on that. So if MSTR does a 2x, you want to do a 4x. And you decided to not hold the common. You decided to hold a leveraged play like MSTX. And of course, if you do that, volatility drag kills your performance. Volatility drag is the technical term of holding a daily ETF for more than a day. If you want any proof of that, go to any total return calculator and enter MSTX versus MSTR. MSTX IPO'd on August 15, 2024. If you had bought the stock, you would be up annualized 233% annualized gain. MSTX, if you had bought MSTX in August of 2024, you would only be up 188%. 188 versus 233 annualized gain. The common stock outperforms the 2x ETF over longer periods of time. As soon as you plan on holding more than 6 months, the 2x daily ETF doesn't make much sense anymore. And therefore, by very definition, if you buy a leveraged play like a 2x MSTX, by very definition, you're a short-term holder or you want the stock to move fast. Here's another reason why you could be frustrated about the performance today. You came over from crypto. You're new to stocks. And in that case, welcome. Stocks are great. But you expect a quick 10x. And so quick 10x in stocks, they're not really a thing. Sometimes they're more of a thing with options. But with common stock, you got to take your time. Common stock, they're for the cozy investor. They're for the investor who likes to sleep well at night, who like to have sound sleep. So, welcome to stocks, but just know that stocks work differently, and, the moves are not going to happen this fast in the stock world. Your time horizon is not infinity, right? You hold MSTR because you want it to go up quick so you can buy back fiat later. You want to buy back into fiat. That's why you hold MSTR. You bought MSTR, and in that case, you would be frustrated with the bad price action. You bought MSTR because you don't really understand Bitcoin, but you understand technical analysis, you understand momentum, and you see some momentum in the stock, and you want to capitalize on that. In that case, you'd be a short-term trader, and you own the stock as a trader. You own the stock maybe because you don't understand the buy, borrow, die method, and the buy, borrow, die strategy, which all billionaires do, by the way. And so you don't envision yourself borrowing against your stock years and years down the road. No, you're planning on selling your MSTR at some point, or selling a few shares every other month to fund your living expenses. And in that case, you don't understand MSTR either, because again, MSTR is a black hole. MSTR is a play on the demise of fiat. It's a play on all companies moving to the Bitcoin standard someday. MSTR is a much bigger story over the long run than most people think. And so that's why over the long run, in my view, MSTR will be $1 trillion company. So in that case, not understanding the benefit of a buy, borrow, die strategy, not understanding the benefit of just borrowing against your shares 10 years from now, that's a common aversion, for example, that, say, MSTY holders would have. And so lots of basics to understand with MSTR. If you don't want to be a short-term holder, if you want to be a long-term holder, you got to have a lot of basics to understand things that the Bitcoin rabbit hole teaches you, like concepts like infinity, concepts like buy, borrow, die, concepts like long-lasting duration assets. And it's unfortunate if you're a short-term holder and you're disappointed by that price action today. It's unfortunate because Saylor and team told us they only work for the common shareholder. Let me go back to the transcripts of the glorious MicroStrategy Q3 2024 conference call. To this day, in my view, still the best piece of audio that you can listen to in corporate finance. Forget about the books. Books are so 2010 anyways. Forget about the audiobooks. To me, the best piece of audio that you can get in finance is the MicroStrategy Q3 2024. It was better than Q1, better than Q4. Q1 was pretty good, but it was not as good as Q3. Just my opinion. This is the end of a call, towards the end of a call. Principle number 2. I'm paraphrasing. I'm reading what Saylor said. We're going to prioritize MicroStrategy common stock shareholders for long term. We're going to prioritize long-term value creation. If you own MSTR, you're my partner. You and I are in it together. That was in the Q3 2023 call. Then he goes on to say, if you've got a call option of MicroStrategy that expires in 30 days, I respect you. I'm glad you do business with us. We appreciate the support. But we're not going to run the business in order to maximize the call option on day 29 if the call option expires out of the money. I can't do that for you. I'm going to optimize for the long-term common stock holder. And so if you have options expiring Friday and the stock price is below what you need it to be at, and your options are going to expire worthless, or you're going to be assigned the stock at a much higher price than you wanted to, it's a trader game. It's, and Saylor doesn't work for the traders. He works for the long-term holders. And so moving on today, the stock is down. Why is the stock down today? Because of a FUD. Because FUD and frustration is the reason why the stock is down. Because we had a FUD storm on Friday, right? Tariff. And today we have another FUD storm coming from a Bitcoin conference. And by the way, before I go into that, X, please fix your algo, please. I'm beginning to think that X is just replacing bad journalism with bad tweets, with people who tweet just because they seek click, they seek to impress with big words in all caps. But they do this really for the likes and the follows, and it doesn't judge the quality of the post. I really think X should fix the algo and use an AI to maybe judge the quality of the post. AI should judge the quality of your arguments. By the way, that comment is not targeted at Mitchell. I do believe he said this comment will shock you in a positive way. It will shock you in a positive way because the video is shared is a really, really good one, and it shocked me in a positive manner. And of course, clips, shorter clips of that clip from Mitchell were cut out, just a few seconds clip to try to create some FUD. You got to listen to the whole thing. And when I listen to this whole thing, Saylor has asked a question. So what about publishing proof of reserves on chain? What about publishing the address? And here's how Saylor leads the answer to that question. If you ask any AI in deep think mode whether it's a good idea to publish your wallet, AI will print 50 pages of possible risks. What a perfect answer. Why trust your human IQ when AI has a much higher IQ than humans these days. Why would you want to trust your human IQ? I love to hear that the answers that Saylor gives to common questions have been proofed by AI. And of course, it is my belief, it is my intuition that we should not publish the addresses. It makes very little sense to do that. It just creates a bunch of risk, right? If you have public officials remove their address from the records. You can't know where they live. That's for a good reason. Even if they live in a fortress and a castle and it's protected, you still don't publish the addresses of public officials, of military officials, of police officials. It makes a lot of sense. So Saylor, of course, is not going to publish the address of the Bitcoin, even though we have full trust in the Bitcoin system. It still creates another vector of attack, which you don't need, especially because you're multiplying the FUDs, right? You have FUD on this, oh, they're not publishing the reserves, but then you have FUD on quantum computing too, of people saying, oh, well, FUD with quantum computing is going to break the Bitcoin code. And so you mix two FUDs together, and then you create a FUD storm on the stock that's even worse, because not only do you have a proof of reserve FUD now, but now that you've published the address, you need to add the quantum computing FUD to that story. So anyways, publishing your wallet to prove the funds creates enormous risk for the long-term shareholder, in my view, but it could have helped your options this upcoming Friday, right? Because if you said, yeah, sure, I'm going to publish the address, probably today the stock would pump a little bit. And then on Thursday, on Wednesday, the stock would entirely forget about it. If you publish the Bitcoin wallets, MSTR's Bitcoin will be tracked forever. If you publish where it is, they can move it however they want. It will be tracked forever. That Bitcoin will be tracked. Bitcoiners are relentless. They'll track it. So I don't want them to publish the address of the wallet. Also, ask yourself, another first principle of thinking, if the Bitcoin bought by MicroStrategy did not exist, well, first of all, would Bitcoin be this high? Would Bitcoin be trading at 110,000 right now? That would be one question. Question number one. Then where did the money go? Did they just burn the money? What did they do? Did they just make the money disappear? Is there a button on your bank that allows you to make money disappear? I don't think so. Then KPMG, which is I'm going to say the most conservative of all conservative accounting firms, and Saylor's top management team, the entire management team, and Saylor himself, do they all want to go to jail? Right? This is all the questions that you got to ask yourself if the Bitcoin was not there. Would the Bitcoin be this expensive? Where would the money go? Would they all want to go to jail? And then just listen to Saylor. I've listened to hundreds of hours of the man. I have entire trust in the man. It's just me, right? No financial advice. You do you. But I have entire trust in the man. I think he's a good man. Anyways, there's zero upside publishing the wallet for now. Let's wait until the tech evolves, and you could potentially assume the tech evolves, and you could have like a firewall on top of firewall on top of firewall with phantom wallets to connect to other phantom wallets. But the tech is not good now to have a proof of reserve without showing the Bitcoin address. And so when you're in Bitcoin for a long time, you know, it's a long time rule of Bitcoiners to have a lot of what I'm going to call cybersecurity hygiene. You know, for example, Bitcoiners never ever reuse their wallet. They always create a new wallet. There's a whole lot of stuff that Bitcoiners do to be extra safe. And not publishing the wallet is like one of the number ones on the rules. You know, just like if you're a military official, you're not gonna put your family's address is not gonna be available on the county's website, right? It's gonna be redacted. It just makes a lot of sense. And so that's just the way it is. Now back to MSTR. MSTR is in deep value territory right now, I find. The lowest I've ever seen it is between a 1.45 and a 1.5 on a market cap over Bitcoin to NAV. But things are very bullish for Bitcoin right now. So I think, considering the situation of where we are with Bitcoin, considering the timing, the historic timing of where we are in the bull market, I think a 1.63 is a steal. I'm looking to add more to MSTR right now. Stay on the Patreon, and you'll get my alerts if and when I buy. But the point is, there's a floor on price to NAV. This has changed. Bitcoin is becoming a bona fide asset. BlackRock is now into Bitcoin. Anyways, banks are going to be able to custody Bitcoin. What does that mean? This has changed. And I'm going to use Mara as an example, because Mara has FUD of its own and critique of its own to deal with. And of course, Mara was trading at 0.99 on Friday on market cap over NAV. And of course, it bounced back hard. It's bouncing even harder right now. Towards the end of the day, it's essentially going to be back at a 10% premium on Mara. And think about Mara. It's got the old miners. It's got a bunch of criticism. Everybody criticizes Mara. And Mara trades at a premium themselves. So then you have people arguing that Sailor should not trade at a premium, that MSTR shouldn't trade at a premium. When a company where arguably there's so much more FUD and so much more issues, namely they have older miners and it costs them a lot of money to mine Bitcoin, even that company trades at a premium. So obviously, in my view, Sailor's company, MicroStrategy, should trade at a premium that is higher than a 1.63, but a 1.63 is still fine. You can still do the ATM nicely at a 1.63. And I've seen people who really understand MSTR, by the way, who are arguing we should just do the ATM all the time and never let it go like past like a 1.05 or a 1.1. And I agree that it would work. You could do that and it would work just fine. Just print for shares as long as the market is willing to give you a premium. And when you do that, then you just obliterate the FUD on leverage, because we're already at 10% of a market cap in convertible debt. That is convertible anyway. It's gonna convert into shares. So you have the preferred. Anyways, this company is mostly permanent capital. Or maybe the FUD's not gonna die, but these apps need to fix their algos. If you ask me, they need to fix their algos. But anyways, Bitcoin. MicroStrategy one day will catch up with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a little ahead of MicroStrategy right now. But one day MicroStrategy will bounce hard. It will catch back. On other days, where it's just sideways action, you can just relax. You can just enjoy the journey, and unless you have short-term call options. In that case, it's a little tougher to enjoy the journey. If you have a bunch of money in MSTX, it's a little tougher to enjoy the journey. But if you have the MSTR stock, the common stock, you can just enjoy the journey. You can stack sats, as Bitcoiners say, go about your day and just stack sats whenever you get extra cash. Or if you're an investor, which I am, you can just own MSTR and let Michael Saylor stack sats for you, which is the very concept of a Bitcoin treasury company. You let Michael Saylor stack Bitcoin for you, and that's a concept of a fiat company too, except, a Google and Apple, they stack fiat for you. They just acquire more fiat by running the business, and then they just pile it on the balance sheet, and they put it into bonds, or they do buybacks or that sort of stuff. Well, I believe eventually all companies will go about their day and they'll do their business and they'll be the best they can at their technology, and then they will just save the money into Bitcoin instead of saving it into bonds. But anyways, I'll conclude with this. The market will realize the true worth one day of MicroStrategy, and as usually is the case with highly volatile company, their coil springs. You add pressure to the spring, and then it pops. The more pressure you had, the more explosion you're going to get. And it typically happens, most of the gains, this is a well-known fact of the market, most of the gains typically happen in a few trading days. Before making this video, I went through a few of my old videos. You can see a month ago, MSTR was up plus 25% in a single day. You can see almost 3 months ago, this one. Almost 3 months ago, MSTR, MicroStrategy, was up plus 12% in a single day. Or you can even do this. You can even entirely forget about the day-to-day and one of the few first time I covered it a little more before, but when I started covering this was more than 2 years ago, right? So this was February 2023. In February 2023, I was like, okay, this is why I invest in Michael Saylor's Bitcoin Empire. Why am I investing in Bitcoin Saylor Empire? Well, there you go. You got a 39-minute video on MicroStrategy from 2 years ago, February 2023. Got 398 views. At the time, I was very happy about that. That was really good. But now the MicroStrategy crowd has grown, and I'm so excited about it. It's been a long-term play for me. It's been a long-term hold for me For over 2 years, I've owned this stock, almost 3 years. I think more than 3 years now. So it's been a long-term hold. It's been a beautiful journey. I've just bought shares. I've never sold a share, and I don't plan on ever selling. I plan on borrowing against MSTR, and I thank you, MSTR, and I thank Michael Saylor, and I, thank you all for watching these videos, and thanks to the community. And this is the big story of our decade, in my view. I have such high conviction. It's my number one position. MicroStrategy is my number one position. So I have very, very high conviction. Anyways, this was not investment advice, not financial advice, just entertainment. Hoping you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.